Hi, I'm Kendall Rawls, Director of Development with the Rawls Group, and I'm here with my good friend, Joe Girard, who is with Change, Grow, Achieve. I met him myself looking for some sales coaching and support and sales and marketing, and he is one of the best consultants and coaches I have met out there. And he's also been helping us pull together a program, the Certified Succession Planner designation. And as we've been talking about this, we wanted to get together and share some of our insights on how to apply this content, also how to influence business owners better and how to position yourself so you're able to make the impact that you're wanting to make in your clients' lives.
Yeah, I love it. It's thanks for having me. It's been fun because the reason this came up was we were just nerding out about sales and talking about all the stuff that you guys do. And I just love the sort of the depth and the complexity and the stuff that you guys work on with your clients. And so we go off on tangents all the time. We have to bring ourselves back because we're in such alignment in terms of what sales really is and what sales isn't. And so that's why we were like, let's share some of this because it's valuable stuff.
Yep, absolutely. So one of the main things we've been working on lately, and it's actually a philosophy that you're going to be seeing a lot through the Certified Succession Planner designation of the ISPA. And if you follow any of the content for the Rawls Group, it's core to how we approach succession planning and working with owners, which is the succession matrix. And when Joe and I were nerding out the other day, we were talking about how complex it is, but also how simple it is and how it really leads when used right, and when you understand the complexity of it, how you can use it to create really great questions, how to hear better what a business owner is talking about, essentially reading the tea leaves a little bit better, because a large part of sales or providing a solution is listening.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the biggest thing is, we've been looking at the matrix, and the stuff that you guys are doing is highly complex. These are very big projects. And if you do them right, you're going to have long-term, multi-year, multi-generational clients that you're solving stuff on a bigger level. But the challenge that a lot of these guys are having, and I know this from working with my clients, and doing training all these years, is that you need to build trust, and everybody says that we got to get inside of what people are doing. We have to get them to see things differently. We have to understand how to be able to create need and understand the value. But it's one thing to say that, but it's another thing to say, well, what do we do? How does that actually work? And so you and I dove deep the other day about uncovering motivations and talking about questions and really what are those questions? Because I think a lot of people get stuck. They ask a couple questions and then they go, okay, let's solve that problem. And if they're just solving that immediate thing that the client asked for, you're not actually providing that service, and you're going to be competing with everybody else that's just there to sell that service for that problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I find too, even working with our and developing the planners and succession planners at the Rawls Group, is on one side, it's really great. They're very passionate about the problem that we solve or the solutions that we provide. Bought in on the strategies and best practices as they were, but we can go into another deep dive on best practices. But even from an accountant's perspective or a financial planner's perspective, they're really bought into the solution they can provide, but they're leading more with that passion versus the passion of connecting, like we had just talked about, to the motivation of what's the motivation behind the owner looking for help, and really connecting to their value system. And while we were talking about this, Joe had shown me this really great graphic, which I'm going to pull up here in a minute so he can talk through it, which I think really helps, one, lack of a better term, leave the ego at the door for a professional service provider where they think that they can solve everything or they think their one product can solve everything. And they may, but you can't make that impact unless you're able to understand the motivations, ask the right questions, and listen.
Yeah.
So as I'm pulling this graphic up, you take it.
Yeah. And so the biggest thing there is, I think, When we look at this, I know for me, if I'm selling to a company, there's going to be multiple people involved, right? And when we look at the different people involved, everybody's got a different motivation behind what they're doing. And so our biggest thing is, a lot of people that do sales training, they talk about how do we fight objections? How do we go through and deal with objections? But if you're dealing with objections, often you're too late. So what we're trying to do is figure out ways to reduce resistance. And so I look at, if I'm going to be talking to a company, I might be talking to the C-level, I might be talking to the directors, I might be talking to the managers and the people at the bottom, and they're all motivated in different things in their world. And it's not because they're selfish, that's just human nature. And so our job is to reduce that resistance so we have the highest probability of building that trust, because people feel listened to, they feel cared about, and we have to pay attention. If we pay attention, we understand those complexities, then we can start to move the conversation forward. And so this was actually a presentation I did for a real estate company, and one of the things they talked about is buyer motivations, and these are common motivations for humans. So you can use this anything that you're doing, and not just the person you're selling to. Think about the team that they have. Most companies that you're working with, that's why succession planning is so important. You're dealing with multiple people involved. If it's just one person, it's an easier conversation, but think about all the people involved. And so people want to be able to enhance their status. Maybe they're looking to, feel safe, right? They want to be able to say, this thing makes me feel like I've got things under control, right? If we don't need to go through all of them, but if you think about this, any one of your clients, they want to feel like, they deserve this thing. And so when you're talking about the logic behind it and all these great things, and you show them all your spreadsheets and all this stuff, if deep down they're worried about, well, how does this, make my business stand out? But you're showing them all the details. You're talking to that logical brain and not that limbic system where all the emotions and all the memories are. And so if you ask good questions and you identify, that's why I love working with you, Kendall, is we look at questions that you ask and say, if they say this, that means they're probably focused in this area. So we should spend some time discussing this, right? So if you have a client that is really trying to make their dream come true, build a legacy with their business and make a stance for what they're doing in their marketplace, but you talk about all the ways that, we're trying to, forget our problems, then you're going to have a disconnect. Right. And so that's why this, when you look at this from, just a question standpoint, what you're trying to do is see if you can get just a sense of what they're feeling, where they're coming from. And if you have any kind of empathy towards that, you can hold off on trying to solve that problem till you really understand that background motivation.
Yeah, which I think is so huge, because especially in the world of succession planning, business owners assume it to be exit and retirement or selling the business. Business advisors, from just depending upon where they focus on a lot of their language around retirement, exit, taxes. Yeah. But if you're talking to an entrepreneur who has been a consummate entrepreneur all their lives, they're probably one of their biggest motivations could be, and this is stereotypical, again, you have to listen, is to make a dream come true. Yeah. It's not about exiting or feeling safe, or to reward ourselves, but it's, how do I make this dream come true? How can I continue to grow this business for whatever it is? And so that's, for me, especially when I'm working with the succession planners at the Rawls Group, really working to connect with that motivation, because oftentimes the assumption is, an entrepreneur, I want to be here and work with succession planning to help them with retirement, which is in large part what business owners think succession planning is. And they're missing the buck, or missing their opportunity to grow their business. Totally.
And, we talked about the people that are watching this video that are looking at as a service professional. You might have, we talked about like a couple different people that might be out there with their own different motivations behind it. Some people want to work more. They want to grow their business. They want to be aggressively scaling and adding more people to their team and really go after, how do I bring in more leads, more business, more clients, and really, work my butt off. There's other people that are saying, well, how do I work less and make more? How do I leverage my existing client base? How do I have less clients and have longer term revenue and have deeper conversations? So whatever your motivation is, for me, like, I'm looking at my business differently than you look at your business, and my motivations behind that will drive my actions. But if somebody comes to me and speaks to the wrong motivation, I'm instantly going to put up that spidey sense, that barrier to them even providing a service, let alone even listening to what they have to say. So that's why, like, if you understand, for you listening to this right now, watching this, if you think about the different ways that you could approach your business, now think about your client. If you understand where they're coming from, where they want to go, what really is driving them, the conversation becomes easier. Then we're going to talk about, what we need to do with that and how we can take that further.
Yep, absolutely.